Hello, I'm Lipka, and I'm here to share with you the teachings of the wise camel. I hope you learn from these truths that the true meaning of life and the meaning of many other things too. I'm going to be reading from the teachings of the wise camel, which is a holy document written by very holy souls. Thank you for listening. Money equals power. Power equals camels. Camels equals 5 celery sticks. 5. Do you understand? Chinchillas sometimes eat celery sticks, therefore they sometimes eat money. Camels also eat celery sticks, therefore they are chinchillas. The blue cloud eats all that is worth something. Camels are money, therefore the blue cloud eats camels. Chinchillas also eat camels, therefore chinchillas are the true embodiment of the blue cloud. There are 5 celery sticks in a camel. There are 5 celery sticks in money. Camels and money are different, and celery sticks are eaten by objects. Anything that can be eaten must not be the embodiment of a proud virtue. Therefore, the number 5 must be proud. That is the lesson of the camel. 2. Glaciers are a subset of mango because they both have dirt within themselves. When small hexagonal mangoes fall from the ground, they are then sorted by the wise camel. Orange ones grow to become fruit which will wilt, and the others become glaciers. When glaciers melt, the small mangoes are then sorted again by the wise camel. The camel is wise since they are power, and wisdom leads to power. Dirt is not proud, therefore mangoes and glaciers are not proud. The camel is consigned to sorting the filth, which illustrates a great injustice within society where the wise camel is left to sort the dirt. Why does the blue cloud ignore the small hexagonal mangoes? The blue cloud only eats what is proud, and mangoes are not proud. Glaciers are also mangoes, and thus not proud. You cannot buy glaciers with money, which means that glaciers are not worth anything, and therefore cannot be eaten by the blue cloud. Yet again, the blue cloud is shown to ignore what is not proud. The number 5 has been shown to be proud. Hexagons have 6 sides, therefore they are not proud. Pride is a virtue, which hexagons lack. Therefore, hexagons are not virtuous and are dirt. That is why hexagons made out of dirt are evil. Mangoes are also evil, unless they are in groups or segments of 5. When impure objects are in groups of 5, the virtues are absorbed into the objects. That is the lesson of the mango. 3. Clay has many shapes and forms, just like an avocado. When a paste, avocado is the preferred food of the chinchilla. Clay can be shaped into bricks and fired under the guidance of the camel. Therefore, clay is wise. Is wisdom a virtue? Wisdom is power, and therefore money. Camels eat money as well as blue cloud. Therefore, wisdom is a virtue. Avocado is similar to a mango in that they both have a hard seed inside. Chinchillas do not eat these seeds, and they must not eat smaller ones. Seeds are planted in dirt, therefore they absorb some of the evil. Mangoes come from seeds, just like avocados. Are avocados proud? They're the preferred food of the chinchilla when in a paste. Therefore they are not evil. The chinchillas are the true embodiment of the blue cloud, and therefore must only eat virtuous foods. There are 5 steps to making a proper paste. Since 5 is a virtuous number, an avocado paste is virtuous. The first step is to pick a virtuous food to make paste of. Avocados and celery are virtuous. The second step is to make a bowl out of brick with 5 sides on the outside. This magnifies the virtuousness of the paste inside. The third step is to take fired ceramics and fashion them into a pestle. The ceramics must be fired so that the clay does not make dirt. The fourth step is to mash the substance with ceramics. The ceramics must be cleaned off after this process with water that is not from a glacier. This is so the flow of virtues can be controlled without any bad influences from the mangoes. Once the paste is made, it must be put onto a plate that is ceramic, not metal. What can make a paste impure and evil? If there is any dirt used in the process of making the paste, then it has evil added. There must be no hexagonal surfaces touching the paste or any containers of the substance. If there are seeds in the paste, no matter what the paste's use, it must be discarded. Avocado pits have had their evil destroyed since they have been surrounded by the virtuous material inside. An avocado pit must be surrounded by virtuous substances for at least 5 days before the pits are rendered pure. However, they are not virtuous and thus must not be fed to chinchillas or camels. That is the lesson of clay. 4. Amber is a form of vinegar. Vinegar is formed when juice from a fruit, vegetable or nut, has been pressed by a virtuous material and then has been filtered through a clay. After this, it is processed like the most commercial vinegar. Amber is also from the trees. Therefore, trees come from clay. Clay has many forms, so it can form a tree. Amber is worth money, therefore is the essence of the camel. The camel is wise, therefore amber is wise. Amber can come from mangoes, so why is it still wise? The clay removes the traces of evil and absorbs it within itself. These foul essences can be removed by being washed under pure water. Is vinegar virtuous? It depends on the source. If vinegar is made from a virtuous substance, it is virtuous and the opposite is the same. Mangoes can be pickled in vinegar to cancel out all impurities. This is why you can feed pickled mangoes to camels and chinchillas. If a pickled mango is made into a paste using the proper method, it is virtuous. If you have a charm or necklace with a piece of amber, it can be used as a ward against the evil and impure, such as dirt and hexagons, if the certain steps are followed. The amber must be washed in vinegar or rubbed in avocado paste. Metal may be used as long as it is not brass, since the brass is color of the mango. If the amber ever touches impure and evil substances, it must be treated as above. Pentagons and 5-star pointed stars are proud shapes since they contain the number 5. A 5-pointed star inscribed in a circle or pentagon is also virtuous. If the amber is in this shape, then it is especially fine. That is the lesson of the amber. 5. A mushroom is a foul organism that grows in non-virtuous materials. Mushrooms can be killed by virtuous vinegar, as this vinegar is virtuous and the foul mushrooms despise it. Mushrooms have folds in them like brains. Therefore, the human brain is a form of a mushroom. It is important to know that without purification, your mind is like a mushroom. Most human brains are unvirtuous due to this, but if one eats 5 segments of pickled mango and consumes 5 ounces of the purest paste, one will be cleansed of one's impurities. In this case, one's brain becomes able to comprehend the deeper truths of the wise camel. Brains are naturally wise, but they are still impure. Therefore, one must not eat brains of any sort or matter that has touched a brain. The mind is an extension of the brain, like a chinchilla is of the blue cloud. In death, your brain is virtuous. Your mind and brain will be eaten by the cloud. However, if one drinks unvirtuous vinegar, then the dirt of the vinegar will go into one's brain, and then one's brain will become a mango. Mango-like brains are identified like the amount of dirt that comes out and touches upon the ears of all around. Over time, this mango will turn into a glacier, which will then seep out of your mouth and corrupt all nearby objects with foul dirt. If there is ever a malady of the brain, it is due to this. Then one must call desperately for the wise camel to sort one's brain and remedy the plight. To summon the camel, one must make a virtuous bowl, as described above, and put within a paste of pickled mango, avocado, and celery. Ones with virtuous brains will be able to feel when the camel has arrived. The camel will need a pavement of 5 celery sticks, or else the malady will not be cured. Due to the amount of dirt that transfers through the brain at this time, the person afflicted must purify their brain again. When one is buried, there are 2 processes depending on the purity of their brain. If their brain is impure, they must be doused with pure vinegar before death. If they are pure, they may be buried without vinegar. However, an avocado tree must be planted above their grave so the virtue is absorbed into the avocado. These avocados are especially pure unless they touch a mushroom. If that happens, then they will become as impure as the foulest mango. That is the lesson of the mushroom. 6. Slugs are impure, for they live among mushrooms and feed upon mushrooms. Slugs come in many shapes and forms, but they cannot be planted to form a tree, and therefore cannot be purified by vinegar or be made into vinegar. If they are placed upon a celery stick, then they will consume it and they will expand, but the resulting slug will feed only upon fresh mangoes. Slugs equal napkins, for both can be used to clean up dirt. However, the napkins will not become impure if they are blue, because blue is virtuous. Do you understand? These blue napkins, however, are already impure because they are slugs. If one wipes one's mouth with a napkin, their brain will become an impure mushroom and must be purified as stated in the lesson of the mushroom. Slugs cannot be blue, therefore they are not virtuous. But if a slug is to be fed only upon mangoes, its hunger will become insatiable. Due to this, it will inevitably consume a camel and be worth more than a mango, at which point it will be consumed by the blue cloud. If a slug eats properly pickled mango, it will die, since the virtue of the pickled mango would be too strong. However, if a slug is washed in vinegar, it will die. This is because the slug comes from the impure and thus cannot survive without the impure. That is why vinegar can be used to smite the impure, as long as it itself is virtuous. Note how the camel cannot bear the slug, and the slug cannot comprehend the camel. That is the lesson of the slug. 7. Marbles are small spheres with either of pine wood, avocado pits, or amber. Pine wood comes from a tree and has a scent. Celery in a proper paste has a scent, so marbles are obviously solidified celery paste. Also, marbles can also contain avocado paste, although there must be some celery paste added in this mix. How do you properly solidify celery paste into a marble? One must mix the celery paste with proper vinegar. Let the vinegar soak in and roll it up into a ball. The ball must be cooled, ideally by ice. However, it is best to make sure that the ice does not taint the virtue of the celery paste. Once the celery has solidified, it must be tested for stability. One must ask for guidance from the wise camel. After it has arrived, the marble must be rolled down a slope of pine wood, metal that is not brass, or some sort of ceramic material. If the marble stays intact, then it is proper and it can be used for virtuous purposes. If the marble falls apart, then celery fiber must be added. This is because celery is virtuous. Therefore, celery fiber is virtuous. Celery fiber is an accepted form of thread or rope. After the celery fiber has been wrapped around the marble, another layer of celery paste must be added, and the process begins again. If a marble is made from an avocado pit, the outside layer must be removed until it is about half an inch in diameter and in a sphere. Pine wood and amber must be formed into the same shape. Do chinchillas eat marbles? They do, because proper marbles are virtuous. Therefore, the chinchilla eats them. A proper receptacle for marbles is a small brick or ceramic block that has been purified, like in the lesson of amber. The block must have a hollow in the top that is large enough to fit a marble. Other materials may be used as long as they have been purified in the same way. Once a container is made, the interior of the block must be smooth with virtuous material. Sandpaper is not virtuous because sand is like dirt. A household shouldn't have one virtuous marble in its container for each person, and a person should never touch somebody else's container. If a person touches somebody else's container, they must wash their hands in vinegar. If a marble ever falls apart, its components must be gathered into a new marble with additional celery fiber as needed. These containers can also be used in a place such as school, as long as each person has their own container. Why are these containers so important? They are everyone's connection to the camel. The 5 virtuous celery sticks, the chinchilla, the blue cloud, and all the embodiments of virtues. If one container is destroyed, then they must reforge their connection by acquiring a new one. After 5 days of holding a virtuous marble, the container itself becomes more virtuous. If one needs help with an issue, one can take a celery stick and hit the person's container 5 times with the celery stick. One must then wait until they feel the presence of the camel and then eat the celery stick. If there is a large issue in the community that the community at large wants to solve, then the community members must congregate such that their total number is a multiple of 5. They must take their containers and a celery stick and walk in a pentagonal path for either 5 minutes or 25 minutes, depending on the severity of the issue. If a celery stick breaks, then the person who is using the celery stick must acquire a new one without breaking formation. It is recommended to have a bag of celery sticks that are used as needed. After the chosen amount of time, all people involved must eat their celery sticks. If after a few days the issue is not solved, then the process should be repeated again. That is the lesson of the marble. 8. The lesson of the cactus. What is a cactus but quartz given spikes and hope? Quartz is a material like amber, since they are both hard and crystalline. Quartz must have the same status as amber, for they both have virtues. Since cactus is a quartz, cactus is vinegar. Cactus, however, is cruel and does not let the wise camel eat it. This is why cacti must be exterminated, for they have corrupted their virtues by rejecting the teachings of the wise camel. If one seeks to take up the holy crusade, one must fashion a 5-pointed star out of quartz and purify it like in the lesson of amber. Since quartz is cactus with virtue, the quartz is naturally meant to destroy the cactus. The quartz must then stab the cactus until the juice bleeds out. This should then be collected in a small container made of virtuous material. The quartz must then be soaked in this material so the quartz can imbue its virtue into the liquid. For without purification, the liquid is evil. However, there is still some evil in the liquid. If the liquid is used to feed an avocado tree, then the liquid can finally be neutral in virtue. Once the liquid is drained, the cactus must be cut from the base and then turned into plant food, which can then be used for virtuous plants. By giving virtuous plants extremes, their growth in the virtues is encouraged. If the quartz star is pressed against the forehead of a heretic, and the wise camel is consulted for guidance, then the heretic's brain will start being purified. Now the heretic's brain will be ready for purification, as described in the lesson of the mushroom. While being purified, the heretic must only eat virtuous foods. The wise camel should be consulted for guidance by the ritual described in the lesson of the marble being performed around the heretic. For this, we'll focus the wise camel's attention on the heretic. People who have had their minds cleansed and are encouraged to wear a green sash around their wrists. This will let other followers of the wise camel identify them so they can join in the crusade. If you see others bearing this virtuous mark, please tell them, thus spreading the teachings. If your friends and family are not willing to join, explain the lessons to them and maybe they will. That is the lesson of the cactus. 9. When you cut a camel in half, it is red. Bricks are also red, therefore camels are made of bricks on the inside. Camels have fur like pine, therefore they are made of pine wood on the outside. Bricks are made of bears and beavers, since clay can take the form of those animals. Since beavers eat pine wood, beavers are more virtuous than bears. However, since camels are pine wood, this means that beavers are pine wood. Therefore, beavers are cannibals and the predator of the camel. But does the wise camel have enemies? Beavers, being the rash and competitive beings they are, attempt to steal the virtue of others even though they already have some. This is why they eat pine wood and shun mangoes. Bears are noble since they eat salmon. Salmon has orange flesh and thus is not virtuous. Therefore, bears are being noble by attempting to cleanse the world of impure beings. The ideal balance is somewhere between the bear and the beaver, a desire to improve like the beaver and the rationality of the bear. To forge a connection to these virtuous animals, totems of the bear and beaver must be made out of pine wood, for pine wood shows the noble animal's origins and destiny. These containers must be revered like a marble, and the connection to the sacred animals will hold. The wise camel understands its connection to the bear and beaver, and thus does not eat them. This shows the deep respect that the wise camel has for all, and the other animals, reverenced by not eating the wise camel. This is a deeper reason why the camel is wise and powerful. That is the lesson of the beaver. Pianos are black and white, which is like a zebra. A zebra can run through the plains while eating avocado, but the camel cannot play the piano. Therefore, pianos are able to run through like the plains, unlike the camel. The piano is therefore mean, since it desires to humiliate the camel by showing its weaknesses. Thus, a heretic can be considered to be like a piano, since there are only two states to a heretic. A heretic can be only converted or drowning in a sea of lies. Heretics often show the wise camel's weaknesses and play the piano, which further supports this assertion. How can one defend the wise camel from these heretics? All pianos must be blessed by being splashed with virtuous vinegar. This will destroy any trace of heretics' behavior. All ruling bodies must be also examined for the heretic's corruption, for the zebra has many forms. When one sees a zebra, one must purify it, for it has mocked the camel and thus is a heretic. If the zebra runs away, one must tie it down with a virtuous rope so it can be purified. A quartz star will also work, but one must never use cactus thorns. Zebras only eat avocado because the avocado trees are by zebras. If there is an avocado tree near a zebra, it must be transplanted at least 25 feet away so the zebra cannot destroy the virtue of the avocado. After a zebra is purified to show mercy, it must be fed avocado paste. Therefore, the zebra is a type of corrupted chinchilla and cannot be eaten by the blue cloud. As shown here, the blue cloud has its fault. Since zebras are kept in zoos, one must never bring a chinchilla to a zoo. That is the lesson of the zebra. While the wise camel is charged with all aspects of the virtue in the universe, the wise camel is only one in a universe of many. Thus, the wise camel has many servants. One of them is the yellow salamander. The yellow salamander was the first that the wise camel created when there was none but itself. Yellow salamander is charged with visiting the wise camel's most virtuous creations, such as the earth every 5,000 years for a period of 5 years. This is to ascertain that the creations of the wise camel properly revere the wise camel and all of its servants. To this, the yellow salamander must blend in with the other inhabitants to receive an accurate impression of the virtue. This is a chronicle of one of the wise salamander's visits to the earth. The yellow salamander lived on a tree branch in a very large tree. One day the salamander's tree branch was broken, so the yellow salamander had to repair it. He knew that the pine needle had many supplies for repairing the branch, so he went down the tree to visit the pine needle in its home. The pine needle unfortunately had loaned its supplies to the condor who lived at the top of the tree. Due to this, the yellow salamander went up the tree to meet the condor. The condor then told the salamander to visit the ancient pyramids in Egypt. This was because the condor said that the pyramids were the work of the followers of a virtuous being, the wise camel. The salamander was very happy to hear that the wise camel was influential and then started traveling to Egypt. When the salamander arrived in Egypt, he was appalled to see that there were no large monuments to the wise camel except for the pyramids. But the true meaning of the pyramids had been forgotten. The salamander knew that since the pyramids were made from yellow bricks like the color of camel and salamander, they were appropriate monuments to the wise camel. When the salamander was traveling, it saw many camels, but no reverence towards them. The salamander asked one of the camels, "Why are the humans not revering to you? Do they not know that the wise camel created all camels in his image? Where are all the altars? Where are the altars of brick and ceramic? Where celery sticks are lain and rituals performed? Why do I not smell virtuous vigor in the air? Are the humans in fields?" The camel replied, "The humans long ago believed in the wise camel and constructed manifestations of it in numerous other lower gods. However, some humans began cultivating evil beliefs where there were only other beings beside the wise camel. Initially there was resistance, but eventually the heretics won. The followers of the wise camel were pushed into obscurity, the shadows, while the heretics who believed in other beings reigned. Someday there will be an uprising of the virtuous as foretold by us." The salamander was scared by this information and was forced to consult with the wise camel. The wise camel, upon hearing this news, encouraged the salamander to lay the seeds of the uprising and destruction of the infields. That is the first story of the salamander. The salamander was sent back to Earth to start the uprising. The salamander started with schools, for the salamander knew that the children would believe the teachings of the wise camel readily, since they would not have been corrupted by the heretical teachings of the zebra. The children readily believed the teachings of the wise camel. but the authority figures did not. When the children brought their bear and beaver totems to school to venerate, the authority figures burnt them, rubbing the ash in the evil dirt. Even the parents refused to listen to the salamander or the children when the flaws in the parents' ideology were pointed out. The children were disgraced, and with the encouragement of the salamander, they consulted the wise camel for guidance. The authority figures were mortified, calling the ritual blasphemous. The wise camel then appeared in the children's virtuous minds and called for the children to forcefully purify the heretics. And so did the children, rub the foreheads of the adults with avocado paste and press them with quartz stars. However, the adults refused to believe in the wise camel, instead saying that there was nothing but one deity and no mention of others like the salamander. The children were banished from the school, for they had disrupted the core teachings of society by introducing the glorious truth that would not pollute the mango-like minds of the others. And the children hid in the shadows, spreading their teachings in the dark instead of the light, for the light is held by the blasphemy of other belief systems. The salamander felt gravely insulted by this, and while the evil whittles at their mind, when their brains have been reduced to shadows and their corpses sprayed with vinegar, then they will accept the teachings of us, the noble ones. One must fight the constricting darkness of the blasphemous teachings with the full fury of the virtuous forces. If a heretic fails to convert, then the quartz star must be used to cut their veins, and the blood must drip into the dirt. The brain must be burnt to ash, for ashes, virtue or evil frozen into dust. This dust, as well as the blood-soaked dirt, can be used as wards against evil when mixed with vinegar and sorted in clay. The teachings must be spread by the star or by the words, whichever way convinces the heretics to convert and atone for their offenses. If one wishes to protect an innocent from evil, the ash and blood of a heretic can be mixed and put into a small vial that is carried around the neck. One who, upon hearing the heretical words spoken, wishes to remove the foul impulses must hold this vial in their hands and ask for the wise camel's guidance. That is the second story of the salamander. One who truly believes in the wise camel and all of its servants shall be known as a camelist. The belief system being camelism. One who wishes to be fully ordained in one true belief system of camelism must create a container as described in the lesson of the marble, and once the container is prepared, tap it with a celery stick. The person being ordained must state, I believe that the wise camel and its servants are the master of all, and the wise camel is the only truly virtuous being. All other beings, including myself, must aspire to be like the wise camel and follow all of its teachings, or else be branded as a heretic. Once this statement is said, the person must eat the celery stick and be splashed with virtuous vinegar. This makes the person the first level of follower of camelism. If a person wishes to ascend in the noblest virtue, the person must create more holy items for his or her own usage and restate the person's commitment to camelism every 5 days. Once a person truly begins to contemplate the teachings of the wise camel, the person may wonder as to the answers to deeper questions, such as how the universe was created. At first there was only the wise camel. There is always the wise camel, and the wise camel has always existed. The wise camel created the yellow salamander and the blue chinchillas as models of virtue. The wise camel created the universe around 10,000 years ago, since 5 is a virtuous number and there are 2 forms of the blue cloud. The wise camel created camels and all other races like it in the camel's image, and the other servants did the same. This is why the chinchilla is the embodiment of the blue cloud, since the blue cloud was created in the chinchilla's image. One of the zebras that the wise camel created aimed fully to absorb the teachings of the wise camel, and the wise camel saw fit to let the zebra create items of virtue. However, the zebra saw that the opposite of virtue must be evil, and that there must be an origin point of virtue. The zebra created a large quartz crystal for generating virtue. It was yellow, and the yellow salamander agreed that it was virtuous. The zebra then created another large quartz crystal for absorbing the evil in the world. It was purple, and the yellow salamander agreed that it was evil. However, since the zebra had ascended to the virtue and was not born in true virtue, it began to hear the dark whispers of the evil crystal. The zebra was slowly being corrupted by the mad whispering of the evil crystal, which is why all zebras are corrupt. In a fit of madness, the zebra combined 2 crystals into one. The virtue and evil were valiantly battling as the camel and others watched, but waves of virtue and evil were released in the fighting. 13. The wise camel locked the 2 crystals in a vault of the purest amber far away from mere mortals, but the damage was done. There was evil in the world, self-propagating and battling with the virtue in all areas. For this grievous misdeed, the zebra was banished to live with its own mortal kin. The world was unstable after this, so the wise camel, the yellow salamander, and the blue chinchilla met to plan how to restore virtue in the world. And thus humans were created. And all other life forms that were not modeled in the virtuous being's likeness. The evil in the world corrupted some organisms as cacti or mangoes, but the virtue survived in others. All humans were corrupted by the evil except for some followers of the wise camel, who were forced to disguise their beliefs. They built various monuments to the camel, such as pyramids. A pyramid is virtuous because it has 5 sides, the 4 visible ones, and the base. Over time, these virtuous groups of people were banished into obscurity, but some persevered. That is the lesson of the 2 crystals. 14. The yellow salamander and the blue chinchilla, after hearing of the corruption of the zebra, started compiling the wise camel's teachings so that others would always have a guide to virtue that would outshine the slug. This is because the slug is not a model of all virtue. Camelists must follow all of the teachings of the wise camel, because the wise camel dictated that. 1. Do not judge the merits of the highest member of a group based on the lowest member, or the lowest member based on the highest member. A lowly slug teaches lessons that just as well as a virtuous vinegar. 2. Do not listen to one who can be trusted only when you are dead. Death was the end of the corrupt zebra, and the zebra was not trustworthy. Only trust those whose wisdom would last longer than their life, for they have shown that the merits of their wisdom extend beyond themselves. 3. There is no master but the wise camel and its subjects. There is no truth but the teachings of the wise camel. There is no ethics without the guidance guiding hand of the wise camel. If you have none of these things, you have not found the wise camel. 4. A heretic has no aspirations, so do not judge the heretic. Instead, convert them with the force, such that they may be judged fairly. If they are not converted, let them be. Their brains will be mango-shaped. 5. If something is boiled in vinegar, it may taste strong. The mind should be ready even if your emotions are not. If your mind is still mango-shaped and it is not purified, eat the foods boiled in vinegar, for there is no path to virtue but absorbing virtue. 6. A quartz star has 5 sides, no more and no less. If you attempt to ascend to a higher virtue by fashioning the quartz star and smiting the heretics, one cannot forget simple virtue such as the number 5. One may keep a chinchilla to remember a connection to the virtuous blue chinchilla, but eat raw mango, as all virtues are virtuous, and all the earlier virtues are just as important as the later virtues. 7. A beaver builds a dam to prevent the flow of a river. The noble beaver builds a dam to prevent the flow of evil. A beaver cannot build a dam by itself, and the noble beaver cannot do it either. All must be committed to virtue, or evil will survive. 8. If you hold a cactus with a napkin, you are not pricked. That does not mean that there is no evil in the cactus, or that there is all virtue in the napkin. All virtuous items are components of understanding the wise camel, and all evil items are components of understanding the various evils of the world. 9. There are no contradictions in divine truth. There are no places for error. If you believe in error, you do not believe in the infallibility of the wise camel. Thus, you are a heretic. If there appears to be a contradiction, there is not, since there is no contradiction in the teachings of the wise camel. 10. Boil a mushroom in mango juice and it will be neutral. The mango will also be neutral, for it has absorbed the evil of the mushroom. There is equality in all things, and there is equality for all believers of the wise camel. Heretics are on the side of the mushroom, not on the side of the mango juice. It is unfair to only devote detailed analysis to certain substances, for there are many substances in the world, whether they are virtuous or neither, or evil. Since there have been a lot of disciples wondering about the nature of certain substances, the church authorities will be adding more dissertations on various substances. 14. Glass is virtuous, for it is clear, like quartz or amber may be. However, it is not quartz or amber, for it is not crystalline, but common evil marbles are made from glass. A marble may be made from the pit of an avocado. Avocados grow on a tree, and amber is made by trees when the sap seeps out and dries. Since avocado pits and glass can both be marbles, this glass must grow on the inside of an avocado. However, it does not. This is because the pit of the avocado is planted in the dirt to grow a tree that resides in the dirt. So it is not as virtuous as the dirt. The glass is more pure than the dirt, so it does not grow within an avocado. Some marbles may be clear, but not all are like amber. For example, avocado pits are not clear. Glass would grow inside the pit of an avocado, since they are both marbles. Marbles can be made from pine wood. Wood is part of a tree, therefore the wood produces amber. The wood grew out of the dirt and out of the seed, so it is not as virtuous as other virtuous objects. Glass is not as virtuous as amber, since it was made from sand, which is like dirt. Therefore, trees do not produce glass. This shows us that there are different levels of virtuosity. Trees produce avocados and amber, which are more virtuous than the trees themselves. This shows that virtue comes from smaller amounts of virtue, which is why virtue can dispel evil more easily than evil dispels virtue. But trees also grow mangoes. That is because trees are growing in the dirt, which generates evil, which means evil generates evil. So evil must dispel virtue faster than virtue dispels evil. With both situations, there is a balance between virtue and evil, and this is why things are created, purified, and corrupted. Glass may be used to take a marble that is virtuous, but not so virtuous that evil will harm it greatly. When a virtuous item is mixed with evil, the virtuous effects are great, but it can lose more of the virtuosity. The exception to this rule is the wise camel, for even though it cannot destroy all evil, it is immune to corrupting influences of evil. The reason the camel may not destroy the evil himself is that he did destroy all evil. If he did destroy all evil, he would also destroy the evil crystal, which would destroy the virtuous crystal, destroying all virtue. Glass marbles are used for destroying lesser evils, for it purifies the evil without corrupting itself too much. Evil is hard to destroy, so purification usually moves the evil around. Dispersing the evil into pure evil lets it be absorbed by the purple crystal, which slowly separates it from the yellow one. When it is dispersed, virtue is released by the yellow crystal, which slowly moves it away from the purple crystal. This shows that everything is in balance, which is how the camel can tolerate both virtue and evil. If there were no evil, there would be no standards for virtue. Glass marbles are colored purple. Glass marbles that are colored purple will absorb more evil than add virtue, and yellow ones will purify more than get rid of evil. This is not balance. If there are more yellow marbles than purple marbles, then more virtue can be added to the world, and the opposite is also true. This is because when a glass marble of proper color is made, the crystal of the opposite color grows in size. Therefore, marbles that are either yellow or purple must always be in use to counteract the growth of the crystals. Why does the glass create quartz? Should it not create more glass, since glass is not quartz and they are of equal virtuosity? This is because glass and quartz are the different physical embodiments of the same thing. Green and red also have this relationship, and is why some impure beings are colorblind. However, if a colorblind person were to have his or her brain purified, then the person would still be virtuous, since the crystals, which are both quartz, were mixed to create evil and virtuous objects. Quartz connects with all of the physical world, but weakly. Things that share a strong bond usually are connected by or to a common object, such as how red and blue are related because together they make purple. Since red and blue make purple and purple is evil, shouldn't red and blue be evil? No, because since evil is made from virtue and purple is made of red and blue, then red and blue must be virtue. The camel, the chinchilla, and the salamander are connected via celery sticks. This is another proof of celery sticks' virtue. In this lesson, there seem to be many contradictions. This is because the evil has corrupted things, which lets things contradict each other. Because evil was summoned from nowhere when the purple crystal was created. The zebra may have had permission from the wise camel, But the wise camel did not realize that the zebra had fully ascended to higher virtue. If you truly believe in the wise camel, you can see why things that should happen according to the wise camel do not happen. This is because the wise camel has left no room for contradiction and error in this universe, so every contradiction can make sense. When it does make sense, you realize that it happens because of evil, and therefore the contradiction comes from evil. However, some apparent contradictions are the cosmic truth like the rest of the teachings, but they do not make sense to people who have not been fully accepted to the teachings of the wise camel. That is the lesson of the glass. Thank you for listening. Those are the teachings of the wise camel. I hope you learned something about virtue and can purify yourself so that your brain does not turn into a mushroom. Thank you.